else in my father's desk was organized by year and category and neat alphabetical order. This one had nothing written on it at all. I opened it expecting old photos. Instead, I found letters, dozens of them, all addressed to him, all signed the same way, Love, Michelle. Here is what nobody tells you about sorting through a dead parent's belongings. You are not just organizing paper. You are finding out
who they actually were. And sometimes what you find does not match the person you spent 40 years believing you knew completely. By the time I drove to Louisville 3 days later, I had read every letter. I had found her address, and I had stopped asking my mother for permission to know the truth about my own family.
My name is Sarah, 40 years old, Nashville, Tennessee, Green Hills neighborhood, my whole life. I work in educational administration, have for 14 years. I am the kind of person who sorts through hard things methodically and tries to understand before she reacts.
That quality was tested harder in the months after my father died than in anything before it. Robert died in April, 2 months after his 68th birthday. Heart attack, fast. The kind of death that rearranges a family before anyone has processed the first phone call. One day, he was arguing with a plumber about the guest bathroom. The next, we were choosing a suit for the funeral home and pretending we knew how to breathe through logistics. My parents had been married 45 years. I grew up in Nashville in the kind of family that looked steady from the outside. Sunday dinners, holiday photos, yard work in the summer. My father was not warm in a cinematic way, but he was reliable. He paid bills on time, kept tools in labeled drawers, taught me how to check the oil in my car and how to shake someone's hand properly. He was the kind of man you think you understand because his life looks so organized. Then he died, and I learned organized men can hide entire people inside neat file cabinets. A week after the funeral, my mother asked me to help sort his office. She said it the same way someone asks for help folding towels. Casual, controlled. Her grief had already hardened into tasks, which was very much her style. His office smelled like paper and dust, and the coffee he always drank black and too hot. Pens in a ceramic mug, reading glasses folded beside a legal pad, receipts clipped together by year. I started with the desk drawers. Top ones were ordinary. Pens, tape, old warranties. The second drawer held church donation envelopes and a broken watch. The bottom file drawer had folders arranged alphabetically. Insurance, mortgage, medical, taxes, then the folder with no label. I opened it expecting old photos. Instead, I found the letters. The top one began, "Dear Dad." For one stupid second, I thought maybe it was from a cousin joking around or a church kid writing a Father's Day note. Then I read the name at the bottom, Love, Michelle. I stood there staring at the page while the whole room seemed to go oddly flat around me.
Michelle.
I said the name out loud like it might trigger some memory. Nothing. Then I read the first paragraph. She was thanking him for coming to her son's graduation. She said she knew things were complicated, but she would always be grateful he kept showing up. My hands started shaking so hard the pages rattled. I sat down in my father's chair and kept reading. There were years of letters, birthday cards, Christmas notes, updates about jobs and moves and children and surgeries, all of them intimate in the plain, steady language of family. She wrote like someone speaking to a father she loved, but could never quite claim in public. Then I found his replies. He wrote back. All those years he wrote back. Careful letters, affectionate ones, proud ones. He asked about her children, apologized for not visiting enough, sent money sometimes. In one letter he wrote, "I think about you more than you know."
I stopped breathing for a moment because suddenly the truth was too big to stay theoretical.
This was not some woman attaching herself to him. This was his daughter, my sister, and he had a whole relationship with her that existed entirely outside the life I thought we all shared. There was a half-empty mug of cold tea on the desk I had brought in an hour earlier and forgotten about. I stared at it for a long time. Then I heard my mother in the kitchen talking to my aunt, and I walked straight out with the folder in my hand. I put the letters on the kitchen table so hard the salt shaker tipped over. My mother looked at my face before she looked at the papers. That was all the confirmation I needed.
"What is this?"
I asked.
"What do you mean?" I opened one letter and read the first line out loud. "Dear Dad." Then Chen. "Who is Michelle?"
My aunt stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. My mother did not stand. She just sat there, one hand gripping the edge of the table until her knuckles went white. Then my aunt said very softly, "Elaine, tell her, not ask what I meant, not deny it, tell her." My mother started crying before she said a single word.
"Before you start crying," I said, "just answer me. Who is Michelle?"
My mother looked up.
She's your father's daughter.
The refrigerator hummed. I sat down slowly because my knees did not seem interested in holding me. How? I said. Michelle was born 3 years before me. My father had gotten a girl pregnant before he married my mother. They were young. The girl was unmarried and scared. The baby was given up for adoption. My mother knew about Michelle before she married him. She knew the entire time. Michelle found my father when she was 23, tracked him down through adoption records, wrote him first. They met quietly. My mother knew. My father begged her not to tell me because he did not know how. Then the years passed, and every year the silence remained made the truth harder to explain. That is the excuse families always use when a lie becomes structural. It is too complicated now. You were young, then you were older, then it felt impossible. In reality, they kept choosing silence over discomfort and called it protection.
I asked if I had ever met her.
Yes.
I actually laughed, not because anything was funny, because sometimes betrayal gets so absurd.
Her body has no graceful response left. At my father's retirement party 10 years earlier, there had been a woman I did not recognize. Dark blonde hair, warm smile. 2 teenagers with her. My father introduced her as an old friend's daughter from Kentucky. She hugged him too long when she arrived. I remember noticing that. I remember thinking it was sweet. That was Michelle. I had shaken my own sister's hand and thanked her for coming, then walked away. That memory hurt more than the letters, because it meant the secret had not just existed in private, it had moved around inside my life in disguise while everyone around me already knew the part I was not allowed to understand. I took the letters and left, drove around Nashville for almost 2 hours without music. Every memory of my father kept rearranging itself. Business trips I never questioned, random weekends he said he was helping an old friend, birthday dinners where he seemed distracted, and I assumed it was work. How much of his life had gone elsewhere while I stood right in front of him, calling it home. When I got back, I read every letter. Michelle was kind. That was the first thing that struck me. Kind in a way that made this harder, not easier. No bitterness, no demands. Even the earliest letters were careful with him, almost protective. She called him Dad from the beginning, but there was restraint in how she wrote, like she knew that title was both true and dangerous. I found one letter that broke me completely. I know Sarah still doesn't know about me. I wish things were different. Please don't feel guilty for loving us both. Us both. That sentence sat in my chest like a nail. She had spent years making herself smaller so I could remain comfortable inside a lie I had never agreed to. 3 days later, I drove to Louisville. I did not tell my mother. I did not ask permission. There are some meetings that belong only to the people truth withheld from each other. Michelle opened the door. I knew it was her immediately, not because we looked dramatically alike, because recognition is sometimes emotional before it is physical. Same eyes as my father, same way of pressing her lips together when bracing for something. She looked at me for 1 second and said my name before I introduced myself. Sarah? I nodded. Then I started crying. So did she. Her house smelled like coffee and laundry. Framed school photos in the hallway. A half-finished puzzle on the dining table. Regular life. That nearly undid me more than anything else. I had spent days treating her like a revelation, and there she was, just living inside a normal Tuesday that should have included me decades ago. We talked for 6 hours. She showed me photos of him with her children, Christmases, a zoo trip, one picture from a baseball game where he looked happier than I had seen him in years. That hurt. Not because he loved them, because he hid them.
I asked her if she resented me. She looked surprised. No, she said. I resented the silence. That was the exact right answer. And I loved her a little for it instantly. It has been 8 months now. Michelle and I talk every week. I know my niece's birthday. I know my nephew hates mushrooms. She knows I cry when I am angry and go quiet when I am hurt. We are building something strange and real out of years we should have already had. My mother says she understands why I am angry. I do not think she does, because anger is only part of it. There is grief too. Grief for every holiday table with a chair no one admitted was missing. Grief for every story told as if it were complete. Grief for a father I still love, still cannot fully forgive. I found a folder with no label in my father's desk, and I learned I was not his only daughter after all. I was just the one kept in the dark. Is there a truth in your life you already feel, but nobody has said out loud yet? Tell me in the comments, because I think more people fact are carrying this specific silence than anyone ever admits. Send this to someone carrying the same weight today. They need to know they are not alone in it.